It's Locked On NBA Game Night. I'm Wes Goldberg here with Swipa. On today's show, the Mavericks might be the team to beat in the Western Conference, and the Warriors make a big trade over the weekend, but there's a lot more than adding Dennis Schroder that the Warriors have to do. All of that and coming up on today's Locked On NBA Game Night. Let's jump in.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
All right, welcome to Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night in 30 minutes. Wes Goldberg here with Swipa. However, you might be tuning in on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Robinhood. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of the high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Got a great show for you today. The Lakers got their best win in a month. The Magic, well, they might be in some trouble, but we're going to start in San Francisco, where the Mavericks beat the Warriors 143-133, a high-scoring game, Swipe, that broke the record for the most combined threes made in a game at 48, a record that, by the way, was set on Friday. So I do want to talk about the absurd shooting in this game and just sort of where we stand in terms of three-point shooting in a second. But let's start with the winning side here. Luka Doncic had 45 points on 16 of 23 shooting. Klay Thompson scored 29 on 7-11 from three in his second game back in the Bay Area since joining the Mavs. And now the Mavericks have won 12 of their last 14 games. So where would you rank them in the Western Conference right now?
Probably they could be as high as 2. I wouldn't have an issue with. I think like in a playoff setting, they're better than the Rockets. But everything is matchups in the West, as you're probably aware of. I mean, I think so much of this is, can they just I think Denver would obviously be a team that they would struggle with in some ways, but could beat for sure. I think there's a team like, again, the Rockets, the Memphis Grizzlies. I truly don't know if they have enough offensive execution to be able to beat the Mavericks consistently. The only team that's just probably outright better is the OKC Thunder, but we just watched them play just a couple of days ago. You and I didn't get a chance to do a show after that game, but OKC, they just put so much pressure on Dallas, and Luka had one of his worst games of his prime. Lou Dort had him in just the chamber the entire game, but I think the Mavericks they're a bona fide top 2 or 3 team in the Western Conference, and I think they have the offensive talent. They got the defensive ceiling with Derek Lively and Gafford and PJ Washington and Najee Marshall, and I think Luka and Kyrie buying into the scheme that Jason Kidd has built for them. They really truly have a formula to get back to the NBA Finals for sure.
They're third in net rating in the last 15 games. They've been awesome. I mean, they're winning a bunch of games, obviously. Like I said, they're 12-2 in their last 14 games. Luka Doncic has really rounded into form, right? Like it was a rough start for him to start the year. He takes a few games off. They send him to go do some homework, basically, aka go get in shape. And he comes back and he looks like he's in shape. And this was easily his best game of the season for Dallas. Let's hear from Nick Engstadt from Locked On Mavs with more.
The Dallas Mavericks just made history. Before tonight, teams that made 27 or more threes in a game were 11-0 all time. The Dallas Mavericks just beat the Golden State Warriors, who hit 27 out of 54 threes, an insane night. This Mavericks team keeps finding ways to win games, and they won this one tonight on the back of Luka Doncic's pièce de résistance game, the best game he's played this season so far. 45 points, 11 rebounds, 13 assists, only 3 turnovers on the game, 3 steals, 2 blocks as well. Shot the lights out, was absolutely controlling things on offense. Everything had to go through Luka, and he just absolutely could do anything he wanted on offense. It was a great night for the Mavs overall, including Klay Thompson. The second return to the Chase Center for Klay Thompson, 29 points. He missed a free throw at the end that he was beating himself up about to get 30, but a great night. He added some stuff as well, shot 7 of 11 from 3. The Mavs hit 21 threes on their own. A really good win for the Mavs to find a way to get this one with the Warriors so hot.
So you texted me something before we started recording here. This was a tweet from Kirk Goldsberry. The Warriors and Mavericks made 48 total three-pointers in 48 minutes. It's an insane number. This was the Goldsberry number here. Total point distribution. So 144 of the points scored in this game were from three-point range. 106 were on two-pointers. 26 were just on free throws, so from the free throw line. And then he asks the question, time to move the line back yet? Question mark. You texted it to me with no context. Or where are you on this?
Look, I don't know if that's something that you make a change. Obviously, you don't make a change with that in season, but I will say and again, I want Celtics fans and Cleveland fans and Mavericks fans and Warriors tonight fans, keep shooting the three. I think the inherent issue isn't about the three. It's about how teams are utilizing the three and what the NBA's become because of it. I think if you're using this and winning championships, i.e. the Celtics, do it. Remember Houston Rockets tried to do this like that 2016, 2018 era, and they almost did it. Then they missed 27 threes to close out the game and didn't make it to the finals. So if you can do it, do it. But I think there's something to this, Wes, that the NBA at this point in time has become more of a math game in the regular season than it is a talent game to some extent. And I think that's where the NBA is kind of falling apart with. I think if you look around the league, you say, well, if you get up 45 threes in one night, and statistically, if you hit let's say you hit 40% of those threes on any given night, I mean, you're really looking at hitting, anywhere from 15 to 16 3-pointers every single night. That's 38 points that you're getting. Like, just, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a lot to deal with. Because on the other end, if the team has one of your, like, a really good team, really good players, Jokic, Giannis, Luka, whatever, they're having bonkers NBA nights, right? Typically, back in the day for Luka gets 45, 11, and 13. It's like, oh, that's a runaway.
Yeah.
But whereas he's going up against the Golden State Warriors, and the Golden State's like, okay, well, we're going to offset your top-end talent with three-point shooting, and they made 27 of 54 three-pointers tonight. Like,
crazy,
that's
man.
outrageous. And
And
so
they
you
lost.
just think about...
And they lost.
Yeah,
First
they
team
lost.
ever to make that many threes and lose in a game, ever.
Right, and again, 48 threes in total and 54 attempts for the Golden State Warriors. It's mind-blowing.
It is. And look, in this game, it was aesthetically fine. Like, it was a fun game to watch. It was very high scoring. It was 81-74 at halftime. I mean, there's some people that were playing in the 80s and 90s that might be rolling over right now, but it was a fun watch on a Sunday night. So, but there's also games like where this happens and these teams aren't making a lot of threes, but they're still just sort of putting them up because they're trying to win the math problem, and it's just not quite as fun. I do want to hear. I want to talk about the Warriors part of this. It was a tough loss for them, like I said. First team to make this many threes and actually lose a game. A couple interesting things here. They did bring Draymond Green off the bench again in this one. By the time Draymond checked in midway through the first quarter, the Warriors were already down by 11 points. They were never really able to climb out of that hole. It always just felt like they're always down 10-ish, for most of the game. The defense just wasn't good enough to start the game. The Warriors actually won Draymond Green's minutes by 4. The reason I bring all this up, I think you could boil this game down to those first few minutes with Draymond starting on the bench. I thought that decision by Steve Kerr might have cost them the game in this one.
Yeah, I mean, offensively, they couldn't do, like, they were doing okay, but defensively, they couldn't do anything tonight. And they found a little bit of rhythm, but off the bench, to Draymond's credit, had 21, 7, and 4. He was 6 of 14, 5 of 9 from 3 for Draymond, so made a really big difference. But this is what I'll say too. Wes, their offense has been bad all year. Like, at least let's say mid. Like, I think they're 17th in offense right now. But if you look at the clutch stats, and I think if you look at the last several games for the Warriors, they have lost all of these games in the clutch. The Warriors, they currently have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 worst offense in the clutch this year with just a 101.0 offensive rating in the clutch. They cannot generate good looks. And Brandon Podziemski got a horrible, horrible shot in the corner that he tries to do a step-out dribble. Luka flies by, recovers really quickly. All over it. Steph Curry. And that's the thing, too, is Steph Curry is not able to offset the defensive issues that the Warriors have around him in clutch time, which means, they're trying to do everything they can to protect him, trying to, show and recover. But then, now you got Klay Thompson running around free. Steph has not been able to hit late stretch of game. Now, some of this, I think he's just been too tired, which I think they also need a secondary ball handler, which is why they went and got Dennis Schroder.
Exactly. Great segue. It sounds like they're going to start him next to Steph. And so I don't know what the starting lineup should be. It's Steph, it's Schroder. I think Draymond's got to be in it. I understand this Kuminga experiment. I understand you want to showcase him ahead of the trade deadline. Well, guess what? I kind of think that that's an overrated thing. Like, let's start him and showcase him. It's like front offices aren't that stupid. They know that you have players on the bench. They're still watching like the middle parts of the game where those guys are in the game. So, look, Steph, Schroder, Draymond. I still think you want to start Looney or Trace Jackson Davis next to Draymond. I can't imagine just starting Draymond small being okay, doing this in December and that being all right all the way through April, and then in the playoffs. And then obviously, Wiggins, you'd start him on the wing when he's out there too. So, yeah, I think adding Schroder is really interesting. And you hear Draymond, he was asked about it after the game. They said, how's he going to kind of fit into your system? He's like, I don't think he was brought in here to fit. I think he was in here to be something different. Like, we have a bunch of guys who fit. We need somebody who can create on the ball and make things easier for Steph. And I think Schroder could definitely do that for him.
Yeah. I like Schroder. I actually thought he was going to be a really nice piece on a contender. I just don't think the Warriors are a contender. And I think they're already small. I think they're going to get smaller. And
that's why
Dennis
you can't start
Schroder
Draymond on the 5.
Right. Steph Curry, Andrew Wiggins. But then now you put Kuminga back on the bench and bring him off. So now you got Draymond and then Looney starting. And then Trace can't finish. So you have to start Looney. So then the issue is like, okay, well, now you got Steph and now you got Dennis. But both of them are small. And Dennis is a very hardworking defender, but he's not like an objectively good defender. But he works really hard, though. And then I guess I'm still confused about the vision because you kept Pods to be able to start him. But now it's not working. And you see Pods that's just it's regressing from what he was last year. So I just don't really know. For me, all this says is you're adding a 31-year-old Dennis Schroder to this lineup. But you're doing it because you're realizing that the youngins that you said no to other trades for, apparently, they're still on the roster, but they're underperforming. Therefore, now the team is underperforming after a hot start.
It's crazy. Fortunately, because of the timing that they traded Dennis Schroder, they could still trade him before the trade deadline. So just a lot of stuff happening in Golden State. I agree with you. They just don't look like the part of the contenders right now. And even in the Schroder part, they're going to be small. There's a lot of complications there and things like that. We're going to head south in California. We're going to talk about the Lakers. They win a game. I'm not all that impressed by it. We'll talk about that more and next here on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat the financial favors of the top 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, resourceful individuals with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of the high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Today's episode is also brought to you by BetterHelp. How do you stay cozy during the winter months? For some, wrapping up in a blanket with a mug of hot chocolate or watching a movie with family is the best way to spend the month of December. Therapy is a great way to bring yourself some comfort that never goes away, even when the season changes. Maybe you're having a hard time at work or in a relationship. Maybe you're feeling some winter blues and you just don't really know why. Therapy is helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It's not just for people who've experienced major traumas in their life. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA Game Night every game, every night in 30 minutes. Your first listen. The best way to support the show is to subscribe on YouTube and on your favorite podcast app. Let's go to Los Angeles, where the Lakers beat the Grizzlies 116-110 with LeBron James back in the lineup. Was not the best LeBron game, but Anthony Davis was great. Memphis turned it over 20 times, and this turned into just basically a foul off in the last few minutes of this game. But look, it was the best Lakers win in more than a month. They came into this game having lost 8 of their last 11. And the only wins in the last month were against the Blazers, the Jazz, the Spurs. So the last time that they beat a team with a winning record was actually these Memphis Grizzlies on November 13th. But Swipa, it's a good win. They blew them. It wasn't all that competitive towards the end here, but I also can't say I came away very impressed. What about you?
Well, I mean, they didn't. The last time they beat them, I don't believe Ja played that game. And so this is a better win, obviously. And I think this Grizzlies team had been piling up with some good victories as of late. Still not like a fully healthy Grizzlies team. They're still kind of getting everybody back. G.G. Jackson will be back soon, and I think he's going to make a real big difference for them. But LeBron, he had a couple of days off and a couple of games off. And so today he comes back 18, 8, and 8. That's okay. Like they didn't win the minutes, but they didn't lose the minutes. He was even tonight when they were on the court. And if you look at the course of this year, Wes, that's been a big theme, is that they have been getting dominated in the LeBron minutes. And, if they're going to make the playoffs, that just can't be the case. So if anything, this is a step forward. I think the Lakers showed more defensive intensity than they had in recent games. They were playing fairly aggressive in this game. And if you look at the overall, like even just their defensive rating this game, they had a 100.9 defensive rating in this game. Now, they only had a 106.4 offensive rating. But again, the game slowed down. A lot of turnovers. The Lakers had 21 turnovers themselves. So, I mean, nobody was taking care of the ball today. And in games like that, you have to be disciplined in detail down the stretch of the fourth quarter. They had a 20-point lead. It got all the way down to about a 9-point lead. And the Lakers, being disciplined today, they just did not let Memphis get back into the game, even though they were trying to do so. And also Memphis, they just don't have the pieces that can attack the Lakers. Like if you got a lot of shooting, for instance, and size, the Lakers have a lot of issues with that kind of stuff. And today they didn't have to deal with that. And Anthony Davis, man, he's not having the same run right now that he did to start the year off when he was like, top 2 or 3 in MVP race. But you know what? You get 40, 16, and 2 from AD, and you get 3 stocks with that, and he's a plus 14. That's the kind of performance that you want to see from him. Then you get 19 and 8 assists from Austin Reeves, who really I just continue to really like. I think he's going to develop into a really, really good guard as he continues to get older. He's a good playmaker, really good scorer out of that position, again, for $12 million a year. I don't think that the Lakers are building towards a winning culture at all. Like, I don't think they're going to be I don't even think they're a for sure playoff team, but this is no disrespect to them. I just think the West is so loaded and they've had so many different issues they've run into. But again, I think tonight, if you're a Lakers fan, you have at least proof of concept. You see LeBron and AD, they play better together. You can win with these two. You just need the requisite pieces around them. And even JJ Redick talked about this a little too, Wes. He said, we're still looking for that 5th starter. If I'm the Lakers right now, you know what? I think Max Christie might need to be there, man. I just think he's been playing the best at the 2 guard spot for what they do need.
It's crazy. Like, he started in this game. He was out of the rotation for a little bit. I didn't think he was playing well at all to start the season. He sort of worked his way back in there. They've tried him, Dalton Connect, Cam Reddish. Yeah. I mean, D'Angelo Russell, obviously. Like, they've gone through so many different guys at that spot. I mean, this is a team that needs to make some sort of trade to bolster, namely that spot, and probably another big to come off the bench just to kind of get them some depth there.
Yeah, because Christian Coloco's not working. Yeah,
no, it's not. And they're 14-12, so they're right in the thick of it in the play-in race.
But remember, they started 10-4.
Mm-hmm.
They're 4-8 ever since that point.
The LeBron minutes have been so weird, and it was right for you to call that out because it was like you're like, oh, cool. Like they didn't lose LeBron's minutes. It's like, what are we even talking about? We're talking about LeBron James, and they're talking about like, oh, we've been losing his minutes. It's been wild, and defensively they just don't have it. They don't have that gear, and that's a lot of blame is on LeBron there. It's his worst defensive season we've ever seen by far, and it's just he could still get to it. He could still hit that gear. He just can't do it for 48 minutes, and it's been so obvious, and they just don't have anybody outside of Anthony Davis that's really any good defensively that can be helpful. And so I just think this is what they're going to be unless they kind of make a move to go get like a couple of like real defensive minded type of players who can just basically cover up for everything on that end. And look, if they do that and they can go from like really bad defensively to sort of league average defensively, I think this offense is good enough where that can carry them in a playoff series. Maybe they can win one, but yeah, they're not really a contending team. All right, we're gonna go to Orlando Magic. They seem to be in a little bit of trouble. Plus, the host of Locked On Pacers says that they might be turning things around. I'm still not buying that one either. Why am I so negative, Swipe? I don't know what's going on. We'll talk about that next here on Locked On NBA. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA Game Night every game, every night your first listen. Let's wrap up these last few games. We'll start in Orlando. The Knicks beat the Magic 191, serving them their first home loss of the season. Jalen Brunson had 31. Karl-Anthony Towns had 22 points and 22 rebounds. For the Magic, Mo Wagner scored 32 points off the bench. He was awesome. The Magic offense overall, though, still struggling to score without Paolo or Franz. Let's hear more from Locked On Magic.
This is Philip Rossman-Reich, the host of Locked On Magic, as the Orlando Magic suffer their first home loss of the season, 100-91 against the New York Knicks. As you can tell, the offense was the problem in this game, as Jalen Suggs struggles to shoot. I think it was 2 for 15, 2 for 14, just unable to get shots. And with the Magic down 2 key players in Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, 2 key offensive players, especially 2 key drivers of this offense, it's going to be hard for the Magic to compete with anyone elite. Now, the Magic's defense did its best. The Magic held a high-powered New York Knicks offense to 100 points, but this game comes down to their ability to withstand their shooting woes. And they've been a bad shooting team all year, the worst three-point shooting team in the league so far this season. They've had to withstand a lot of bad shooting, and sometimes you just can't do it. Sometimes the other team makes the right play. Sometimes you have the wrong turnovers at the wrong time, and that was the big cause of the loss in this one. The Magic are here to fight. They're here to keep going, but you can see the frustration on their faces as they continue to miss shots, and that's going to be a struggle for them here without their 2 key players.
So, look, no Paolo, no Franz. Doesn't sound like Paolo's coming back anytime soon either. He's not even going through a full practice yet. He kind of said maybe by Christmas. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. They're in a little bit of trouble. Their next 5 games, OKC, Miami, Boston, Miami, New York, they could realistically slip into the play-in mix by the end of this month. So, look, we already talked about Dennis Schroder. Trade season has started. My question to you, Swiper, do they have to make a move just to sort of bolster something here while they're waiting for guys? You're saying no.
No, please don't. Please don't. Unless you're making a move for your future, and that was already in play if you would have had Paolo and Franz. Do not make a move that would be of the kind of ilk that you didn't have those players on your roster. You're already headed in the right direction. The Magic are already ahead of schedule. They're already better than what we thought they would be. They were already looking at the 3 seed when they had just Franz, let alone having Paolo in there as well. They've already shown that we would dog walk the Miami Heat if we were fully healthy.
All right.
That's at least their mind. I'm not saying I believe that. That's at least what they're thinking. So no, they don't need to do anything. Like just let this part play out. Like, yes, you're missing your 2 best players, but guess what? You're still good enough to be competitive without them. There's not many teams in the NBA that can say that, Wes. And so that would be my mentality if I was them. I'm not pressing panic. I'm not doing anything. Let them come back and get healthy. And I guarantee you they'll be here by February. They'll be here by March, and then we can go into the playoffs and give it all we got and then have these guys the next year. But I don't want to mess up anything they're doing.
I halfway agree with you. Like I'm like 50% there. I've been on the patient bandwagon the entire time with the Orlando Magic. Even this past summer where people are like, oh, throw a bunch of money at Chris Paul or Malik Monk or one of these guys. I was like, no, they don't need those guys. Let Paolo and let Franz kind of go through the pressure test and just grow. Let them get better. I will say this. It feels like they just need to add somebody that can shoot the 3. Like that doesn't need to interfere with what Paolo and Franz do. If anything, it'll help them a little bit. Jed Howard just hasn't been that guy for them. They're kind of quietly...
they added KCP.
Right, exactly. And that hasn't exactly... I mean, he goes over 3 for tonight, and he hasn't been awesome for them either. And look, I mean, they've been sort of quietly shopping Cole Anthony or maybe like keeping him like available for trade offers. He's got a big chunky like $12 million salary or something like that. There's things that they could move here. If you could go out and just get like your own like a Duncan Robinson, Peyton Pritchard, just like a guy who's sort of who could just sort of catch fire from 3 and just help space the floor a little bit, I would be on the market for that. But nothing that would upend really what you were doing. And that is sort of what you were saying, right? Like you would still add the like that kind of player with a healthy Paolo and Franz, because that's obviously additive. So I do think that they should be pretty aggressive, though.
KCP shooting 29% from three and 39.6% from the field on the year so far. I had no idea that his splits were that bad, but that's why they paid him 22.
He's eligible to get traded too. Like, has he done anything to say that he's done? I know he was like the big guy and he's good for the culture. It's like, I don't know. Like, I feel like there's other teams that would really like KCP, and it hasn't exactly worked for Orlando. I don't know. I would be open to a lot of things if I were them, at least in terms of smaller sort of side moves, nothing dramatic. But let's go on to Indiana, where the Pacers beat the Pelicans 119-104. Here's Tony East from Locked On Pacers with more.
Tony East here with Locked On Pacers on the floor, where the Pacers won by double digits, a rarity this season, just the fourth time they've done that, and importantly today, the second time they've done it in a row after they beat Philly on Friday. They look a little better right now. To me, the two things that stand out, better rim defense and crisp passing with purpose, not just throwing it around the perimeter looking for the right matchup. They look better after 4 days of practice. Shocking what that can do for a team with a little bit of health. Tyrese Halliburton, great again. 21 points, 10 assists. He has certainly turned a corner the last month or so, as the team has in general. Andrew Nembhard was great in this game. Obi Toppin was great in this game. And the Pacers need to know, is this actually a turning point, getting some comfortable wins consecutively? Because they have a big road trip coming up. Phoenix is their next game as they start a West Coast swing. If the Pacers can't get some wins on that trip, their season's going to look really rough in January. If they can, they might be able to save what was a dismal start filled with injuries. Today was a sign that at their best, they still can look like last year's team. We'll have much more on Locked On Pacers.
I'll ask you that question that Tony brought up. Like, are you buying this turnaround?
I mean, they played the Pacers like without Brandon Ingram and Zion, so no.
Pelicans, yeah.
But yeah, the Pacers should be better anyway. You know, they've been dealing with injuries and stuff in and out of the year. They're on their own, but so yeah, I mean, they're playing better as of late. Halliburton, this is back-to-back good games from him. So again, you want to continue to see him go upward with the year, but yeah, they have a very talented team. So they should be better. But again, a lot of their stuff is just going to be about late game execution. Can they get enough defensive stops and kind of buying into that scheme? So, you know, they will make an upturn. But I also think just from a talent standpoint, they're still not like going to be a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference, maybe.
Yeah, look, I'm not buying it. You know, they have to be elite offensively. They're 15th in offensive rating since the start of December. So, but yeah, the beginning of the year was so bad for them that all of this seemed so much better, and it is so much better. But it's like what made them an Eastern Conference Finals team last year was that their offense was special, elite, unbeatable, carried them to wins, and it just hasn't been that. Now, if Halliburton starts stringing some of these games together, they get Aaron Nesmith back eventually, they can kind of do some things. Yeah, then maybe we're there, but I haven't seen enough to say, yeah, I'm buying this turnaround just yet. Right now, they do feel like sort of like a fringe playoff team right now in the Eastern Conference, which would be a disappointment based on where they were last year. But let's go to Washington, where the Celtics beat the Wizards 112-98. Jason Tatum led all scorers with 28. Here's John Corrales from Locked On Celtics with more.
Celtics get the easy win in Washington, their third win in Washington. They have more wins at the Capital One Arena than the Washington Wizards do this season. Jason Tatum had a casual 28 points and 12 rebounds. I think Peyton Pritchard was probably the more impactful player, actually, because he was hitting shots that were more timely, that kind of woke the Celtics up, especially in the third quarter. The whole second half was kind of crap, but in the third quarter there, Peyton Pritchard came in when the Celtics lead had dwindled from 21 down to 10. He hit a couple of three-pointers, and that just kind of stabilized things. And, you know, he had a kind of a battle with Jordan Poole, which was more funny than anything, but Celtics get this win. They didn't have Al Horford. They lost Kristaps Porzingis in the second quarter to heel pain, which he said afterwards, more precaution than anything, and he's not expected to miss time. But shout out to Luke Cornett, who played well in the absence of a couple of big men. 11 rebounds for him, 5 offensive rebounds. By the way, 4 offensive rebounds for Peyton Pritchard. The Celtics were on the boards. They did the job. They beat the Washington Wizards. Hooray for them, right? Yeah.
This must be nice when you could just be like a cocky Celtics. Like, you're just like, all right, regular season doesn't matter. Go ahead, Swipa.
By the way, per dunks and threes, I've been tracking this stuff all year because I just think there's some trends in, like, you know, how affecting teams. The 3 easiest schedules in the league so far this year.
Tell me.
The Cleveland Cavaliers are the 30th ranked schedule in the league, 22-4. The Memphis Grizzlies have had the second easiest schedule in the league, 29th ranked, 18-9. And then the Boston Celtics have had the third easiest in the 28th ranked schedule in the league, and they're 21-5. Now, again, they're dominating versus these teams, so that's not a takeaway, but I think that's more of a correlation that, like, the teams that are kind of at the top of the league right now, they're feasting on easy early season schedules, and they're taking care of business, which is what you're supposed to do when you're an elite team. So this is, look, keep getting these wins out the way. These are all filler episodes. If you're a One Piece fan up here, if you're a Dragon Ball Z fan up here and you watching Locked On NBA, you want to looking for anime correlation, well, this is it. You know how it takes like an hour just for a power up for Goku to transcend to Super Saiyan 3, or, you know, in One Piece, you needed extra filler episodes to get to the next mission. This is what this is. Every time the Celtics see Charlotte or Washington or Detroit, just think these are One Piece filler episodes. Use these to get your power level up and then get ready for the real goal.
This is just Goku running through that road in the sky. Like, this is just like, okay, we're still doing this. Like, it's been 4 episodes. Like, we're still playing the Wizards. Why is this still happening? Let's wrap it up in San Antonio. Minnesota hung on for a 106-92 win over the Spurs. Anthony Edwards led all scorers in this game with 26 points. Jaden McDaniels got a double-double, 12 points, 11 rebounds. Victor Wembanyama packed the box score. Get this, recording at least 20 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and 5 blocks for the 8th time in his career. Let me say that one more time. For the 8th time in his career, which has been a little bit more than one season, at least 20 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 5. It's just crazy stuff that this guy is doing. And then the last game, the Suns beat the Trailblazers 116-109. They've won 2 in a row after dropping 3 straight as Kevin Durant returns to the lineup. KD had 20 points. Devin Booker led all scorers with 28. And that does it for Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night. Make sure that you are subscribed on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Yay for beating the Wizards.